Hello, I am Mudita, and welcome back to Satisfactory. Phase 1 is completed, and now we get to start working on Phase 2. So, let me show you what I've done. So, if we come over just past the iron plates, which are all backed up because they're full, we've got a little copper setup. Since the wire and the cable were done, the only thing left was the copper sheets. At this stage of the game, we definitely need copper sheets, so we can get those water extractors pumping water, get some coal power going. There's a handful of things I need to get done before I start building the coal power. So for this, I actually only have it clocked at 50%. It's only doing 30 per minute. I've just got the one smelter going into two constructors that are both underclocked at 75%, with each one making 7.5. This is making me a whopping 15 copper sheets per minute, but honestly, that's going to be plenty. In a matter of no time, I'll have all I need to create all that power. Back in the hub, I've got a whole bunch more milestones to complete. I think most people rightfully unlock coal and go for this immediately. And I don't blame you. Getting out of the biomass jail is just so freeing, and just turning this on is just so satisfying. That being said, as you can probably guess, I'm not going to do that first. I'm actually going to unlock a whole bunch of these milestones first. I want the steel production. I really want the expanded power infrastructure. And if I unlock the Mark II miners and the Mark III belts before I do my coal, I can just get it all set up the way I want it to be, and I don't have to go back and edit things. So let's go ahead and just do steel right away. Now that I've got the items, let's go ahead and load them all up. Maybe I didn't have all the items. Now I have the rest of the items.
Milestone reached. Coal and iron can be combined in the foundry to start steel production.
Well, let's save the day. So let's get a real basic steel setup going. I'm going to need 3 foundries, and I believe 3 constructors. So let's grab some of these. Let's head on right over here. Alright, and just on the other side of this little mound in our space elevator, we've got 1 coal here. There's actually a second one that I'll eventually use. 1 coal there. And this path right here leads to an iron node. Sometimes if you place foundations over the node, it just won't connect for some reason. So the easiest way I found to get around it is delete one of the pieces. Honestly, it could have been this one, I think. Either one of those would have worked, really. And then now, as long as we're looking at the node, now it'll snap. It'll still stay on top of the foundation. But this can make things a little bit easier for you. So let's go ahead and spin this one this way, I think. Yeah. Alright, so I may end up changing this, but I think this will be a good start. So let's go ahead and just place a foundry. Somewhere back here. Alright, so we need 3 then. These are all going to be set to steel. However, since the input is 45, output is 45, I actually want these to be at 40. Since I'm going to be dealing with 120, since I only have Mark II belts, that's the best we can do. And then with this one, we're going to have to overclock this so we can get to 120. Load balancing these, pretty easy. So we're just going to slap a splitter. Let's see, should be right about there, but what's the easiest way to make sure? Let's get that. So that is going to be straight, yeah. So I can either make the short lifts, or I can be lazy and then just add it at the next height up, and now it's just going to connect up here. And then we can put this one right here. Make sure those are lined up. Perfect. Oh, and before I forget, let's make sure these are... No, never mind. So these all only need to be marked 1. Good, okay. And switch to straight mode. And there we go. So from here, we can go ahead and connect that up. So there's our coal. Actually, why don't we just do it like this? Now this one needs to be Mark II, because that'll be the 120, which means that also needs to be Mark II. Alright, so now I just need to run a Mark II over this iron. This one also needs to be overclocked to 120. So let's take a look at the recipes real quick. So steel pipes is the much more efficient one. Only 30 ingots creates 20 pipes. However, steel beams, 60 ingots, 15 steel beams. So a really easy way to do this would be to set up 2 of these doing steel pipes and then 1 of them doing steel beams. Because the 2 steel pipes, they would both intake 30 each, so that would be 60, and here's 60. And that is a fine way to do it. The reason I'm not going to do that is entirely way more steel pipes than I need, and just not enough steel beams, which is the thing that I really need more of. So I want to only use 1 machine making steel pipes and use the rest of the ingots to make the steel beams. Which means I need 30 steel ingots for the steel pipes, leaving me 90 for the beams. So how do we split that up? There's a couple different ways to split it. I'm going to show you the way I went with. So with this one, we're going to put a splitter right in front. And then in front of that one, I can give myself that 1 meter of space so I can see what's going on. We're going to put a burner right here. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and place another splitter. And then another merger. Alright, so each one of these is outputting 40. So there's 40, there's 40, and there's 40. So if we split that 40 in half, here's 20, and here's 20. If we take that 20, and we split it in half again, here's 10, and there's 10. So coming out of here, we have 30. Going into here, we have 10, plus the 40, plus the 40. So here's our 90, there's our 30. And then with that 90, we need a Mark II belt, and we're going to put that into another splitter. Now I can grab my 3 constructors. So this one we can place just right here. Place these nice and close. And then the next 2 are going to go right here, and then right next to it. So there's 45, and there's 45, and there's the 30. So with these, we just need to underclock them. So 45 would be 75%. 11.25 a minute. It may not sound like a lot, but I much prefer to get just even those few extra steel beams than a whole bunch of extra steel pipes that I'm probably just going to have to sink because I just don't need that many yet. So we can go ahead and merge up these 2. I've got it all wired up, so let's go ahead and turn it on real quick, and then I'll create a short little bus to take the products over there. And there we go. Pretty quickly. Got a nice little steel setup. So I've got 22.5 steel beams and 30 steel pipes a minute. I just need to run these belts over there and add some storage units, and then we'll get to some more milestones. Ah, the steady flow of the steel. You love to see it. Alright, so we've got that out of the way. But because I've made the poor decision of running on biomass a little bit longer before I unlock coal, I'm going to let these back up so that the factories just turn off and save me a little bit of power to buy me some more time until I can get coal power up and running. I did find out that in the past you could select a milestone, load up everything. We'll just pretend I had everything there. Go to select milestone, and then I could load up another one. And then when you turned in one, I could then turn around and just start turning in all the rest of them. Oh, once you put it in there, it is in there. I think you used to be able to take it back out. Well, so those plates are gone for now. So unfortunately, you can't kind of cheese the countdown timer for waiting for the pod to come back. It was a really nice trick, especially when you did it like this, and I've got pretty much all the parts that I need. I just need to throw them all in here. So unfortunately, I do have to wait the full time. So for the next, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour, I am just going to be turning in all of these milestones that I can and collecting biomass so that I can keep everything running for a little bit longer. So let's go ahead and start with coal while we wait for everything else to pile up.
Milestone reached. Power production can now be fully automated by burning coal, which has been added to the resource scanner.
Let's drop off some leaves and the wood. Alright, time for the next one. Yes, blueprints. Real happy about these. Mark III belts. Yes. Perfect. Let's get this loaded up. Oh, missing pipes. Here we go. Alright, top these off. Alright, last one to turn in for now. Ah, beautiful.
For the good of Fix-It and humanity.
For the good of Fix-It and humanity. So I will unlock jump pads, tractors. Oh, I definitely want to do tractors because that gives me more inventory slots. And then hyper tubes. But for now we can focus on coal. So if we take a quick scan of coal and take a look at the map, I've got, I don't know why it shows so many. There's 2 impure, we've got the 2 normal, and then this is 2 pure. And I don't want to use any of them. What I'm actually going to do is come all the way out here. There's a weird little crater hole in the ground over here and a bunch of different nodes. And there's a couple different coal. And then just past that, there's a huge cliff and then the ocean. So the reasons I wanted to get all of those unlocks out of the way is I can now have minor Mark IIs, so I can just slap those on. And now I have Mark III belts, so we can transport 270 resources per minute. And since I want to use a location that's just not real close, these power towers are going to make a huge difference. So let me come up here and show you what I'm going to do. Alright, so this gives me something to snap to. While I was waiting for 1.0, came up with a whole bunch of different blueprints. So this is a really basic one where it's just a 2-meter platform and then the power tower on top. This just saves a little bit of time not having to try to center it every single time in placing these, and since it's kind of one big piece, it makes it a little bit easier. Now the bounding box is kind of big, so it can be a little bit tricky to place, at least for this first one. And that's only halfway. Alright. That rock was in the way, so I had to build up some temporary foundations, but now we've got it level to where I wanted it. And of course the ladder's on the wrong side, so now I need to flip this around. Alright, so now it's where I want it to be. We can place it. The first power tower. So this is going to make things a lot easier, being able to get from here to there. There's Caterium not too far, so I'm going to grab some of that and unlock the zip line. And I'm going to create a line of these. So the way I'm going to do it is, just to make things easy, I'm just going to nudge this right into the center here. And then I'm going to zoop out 30. So I believe the distance between power towers can be 35 foundations, but I like to give myself just a little bit of wiggle room. So like for here, there's no real reason to go the full distance. We'll go pretty close to the 30, and then we'll just place it where it's convenient. And then I'm just gonna have to work around these dunes a little bit. I don't want these to be too high up in the sky, but I also don't feel the need to put them directly on the ground, and I would much rather have this be kind of a straighter path if possible. Just not too crazy high off the ground. And then we're just gonna do that. So we'll do this all the way over to the coast, basically. So let me go ahead and get to work, and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, I've got my handy dandy zip line. This makes such a big difference until I get the jetpack. And then we've got a blueprinter, and we've got one tower that just goes on to a bunch of other ones. So now we can get all the way to the coast in a lot quicker of a time than running. But before we head out there, let's go over to the blueprinter, and I'll show you some of the blueprints I'm going to be using. I've got two different versions, one for 2 coal gens and one for 3 coal gens. For the impure node, I'll be using these. So really simple design. We've just got 2 coal generators right next to each other. The pipes coming out here in front, and then the splitter basically backed up as close as it can go. So it's nice and compact. And then a very similar setup for the 3. We just obviously have to use all 3 outputs for the splitter and the pipeline junction. But nothing too complicated here. But now that I can use blueprints, it just makes my life a whole lot easier being able to place these. I think one of the most underrated parts about blueprints is that you can add them to your to-do list. So now I can come over here and I can make sure that I have all of the parts that I need before I jump on my zip line and go all the way across the desert and then realize that I didn't bring enough rotors or something like that and I need to come all the way back. So very helpful. Definitely take advantage of the to-do list. So let's take the zip line. For those of you that are new to zip lines, there's 2 ways to use them. There's the left mouse and the right mouse. The left mouse will let me jump onto the zip line, but as soon as I let go, I'll fall off until I click the mouse button again. Now, if I click the right button, I stay on, and now I don't need to press anything, I don't need to hold anything, and it'll just keep going. Right, currently I'm sprinting, but if I hit shift again, I'll slow down. There's a pretty big difference between the sprint mode and the non-sprint mode. So now we're sprinting again. I have my sprint on toggle instead of hold. That way I can pretty much just be sprinting all the time unless I need much more finer movements, and then I can turn it off. So that's in the settings. If you haven't done that, I'd recommend it. All right, and here we are, the edge of the world. So if you take a look at the map, this is it right here. So I just came pretty much straight all the way across, and this is where we're going to be doing it. So we've got the 3 coal nodes, that's the impure, and then there's 2 normal. You've pretty much got 2 options. I need coal and water, so either I could bring the water up here, or I could bring the coal down there. And I can tell you, one is significantly easier than the other. And when dealing with fluids, I definitely recommend going the easy route. Alright, and I've got some stairs set up, so let's head down to this platform and I'll deal with those later. Because of that rock and the part that sticks out right here, I've got a little bit less space here, and then I'm going to go out and then use the space past the rock for all the rest of the coal generator. So I'm actually going to do the impure one here first because it's going to take up the least amount of space, since the normal nodes will just require more coal generators. Fully overclocked, I can get 150 coal out of that impure node. Since each coal generator is going to take 15, I need 10. So 5 of these blueprints. Alright, and the way I want to get these lined up is I just want one foundation basically here in the back. I'm going to add more down here because this is where we're going to have the coal come down. But for right now, we're just going to line this up right with the edge. And I believe, yep, these are just going to line up in the same spot for each one. So we can go ahead and slam down all 5. Beautiful. I find it easiest to place some temporary foundations down whenever I need to work on like a separate level and I just don't want to worry about these pipes. So let's set up the 5-way split for these first. So let's start with a splitter. And we can come over to, let's go with this one. Let's go ahead and place this one here. And we can work backwards. So if each coil generator needs 15, that means 30 needs to plug into here. So we can plug 30 into all of these, which means 90 into this one. Oh, what color is this? Let's make this one the standard. And on this side, we can go ahead and place another one. So 30 into here, 30 into there. Now I do need to use that one, but first we need to get this set up. So this is going to need to go right here in the center. So let's go ahead and place this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it would be right here. Should be right about there. Alright, so obviously this platform isn't long enough, so let's go ahead and extend it. Okay, so we need 90 into here. 90 gets plugged into there. Go ahead and put the merger here. So if both of these belts need to be 90, that means this one needs to be 180. So we've got Mark 3 into there. And we can go ahead and take this one. This is another 30 line. Can't quite get there, so we'll just place it here. And we'll just delete that. Okay, so there is a 5-way split. So 150 plugs into here. But because we need to use all 3 outputs of both of those splitters so that we can ensure all machines are getting the same amount, we loop back the 6th one back into this merger, and that's how this is going to end up being 180 instead of the initial 150 that we plug in, and this all balances out perfectly even. So from here, we just take a Mark III belt out to here, and this is where we'll plug in the coal. So let's get rid of all these temporary foundations. And the belt work's all done. There are a number of different ways you could do the water extractors. So with this setup, it's really nice and easy because the spacing ends up working out perfectly. Thank you, Coffee Stain, for making some things just really, really convenient. Normally, I would like to place foundations underneath so you can kind of get it to snap to exactly where you want it to be. So the nice thing with doing this is I only need to figure out the distance on the very first one. So right about there probably looks good. That's really fine. It really doesn't matter. We're just going to do pretty much a straight pipe all the way across. So if we place this one down, and if I hold control to get it to snap to that one, if I hold it in place, it is already lined up perfectly with the next one. So this will get them lined up all together nice and even, and they will automatically be in line with the junction where they need to go. And there we go. That's not the right color. Let's make it blue and yellow. And then from here, so if I use auto, actually we can lock it in place. And it's really hard to tell, but it's slightly higher at the water extractor end than it is over here. So we could try different build modes and they're all going to look exactly the same. What you can do is place one pipe as close as you can. And then from here, we can connect it straight. And now, it's a nice straight line all the way across. So this right here, I'm not crazy about it. So we can lock it in place, and then if we hit R, we can change between the different build modes. So most of them are going to have that slight little curve to it, except for the Auto 2D tries to make it as straight as possible, I think. So I'm actually going to go for that for this little section, and then we'll just go straight. You could obviously just go straight into there, and it's going to work out fine. So let me show you how I'm going to do power for all of my water extractors. So I really like this method, and I absolutely stole this from DrawingXaos. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. He's got some great videos here on YouTube. So if you line it up directly in the middle, So that is in the middle of the machine. It doesn't clip into anything, and it keeps it pretty minimal and out of the way. And now, if I chain these up, I can basically keep all of these power lines kind of out of the way, and we can just run the line for them all along here. So water extractors are one of the just awkward ones for me. I've always felt to power up just because it's so hard not to get them to clip if you want to group them together. You pretty much always have a line that's like clipping through these towers, and I just never like the way it looks. So I think this is a great compromise. Keeps it out of the way, and then I can just kind of run it into a corner and figure out where to go from there. So let me finish wiring these up, doing the pipe work. Then I'll show you how we're bringing the coal down. And finally, have some automated power. Oh, it's going to be nice. It is almost that time. I went ahead and connected the power to all of the water extractors so that they can basically fill up the coal generators and have the pipes completely full. I would do this no matter what if I'm doing manifold or load balancing. Pre-filling the fluids like that just makes a huge difference. So let's come up to the top and show you where it's coming from. Another blueprint, and this one is the one that made me realize I am slightly cheating. So I felt like I should point that out before people start flaming me in the comments. I had totally forgotten that the way this game works, and they didn't change it for 1.0, if you have a blueprint made, especially from another save, and you copy and paste that over, which you absolutely can do, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, I can build things that are in the blueprint as long as I have the materials for it. So I don't have these windows unlocked yet because I haven't been wanting to sync things because I don't want to trip my power. So I'm letting things just stay backed up, and I haven't been syncing as much as I could be. So I'm absolutely going to unlock these soon. I could have gone a different way about it. I could have left all of this just wide open and then unlock the things once I get enough power, and then I could come back and replace the windows. I could do that, but I'll be honest, I just don't really want to. So it is kind of cheating. I'm placing items that I don't technically have. For some reason that didn't dawn on me when I was placing the grit metal foundations, but I haven't unlocked those yet. So same thing, I could have left all of the platforms floating and I could have made them concrete and then switch them to grit metal. But since I didn't have the things unlocked for the supports, they just would have been floating. And honestly, since I have the material, I'd rather just make it look good now. I'm going to unlock everything, don't worry. Just kind of a full disclosure. It is kind of cheating, I guess. So if we come over here, we've got a little housing for our miner. Just because I like the way that it looks, just having a whole field of just random squares of foundations and then a miner plopped on top of it and a belt running out of it, I just didn't really like the way that it looked. It doesn't need to look super nice, but I want it to not look weird. So this is what I came up with. Pretty simple, just like a 3x3 little house that I can put on wherever the miner ends up going, and that gives me somewhere to plug that in, and then I can put conveyor holes wherever makes sense. So this is our Impure node, clocked to 150. We've got the power ready. We've just got to plug that up, and we are good to go. So this is going to come in right here, and obviously I'm going to route the other two nodes over there as well. And then it's kind of hard to see from up here. And then we've just got a little waterfall. So this is definitely where I want to come back with once I've unlocked more from the awesome shop and make this look a little bit nicer. I did use the fences down there just because I thought they were fun and they're new, so I just threw those down. But the coal's going to come down here and then plug into the load balancing, and that's pretty much it. It's not going to get much easier than this. It's just going to get more and more complicated. So let's get this party started. Only thing I need to do here is plug this in. There it goes. And there we go. Looks like it's leveled out and we've got a nice, completely flat power graph. Obviously it's going to take a little bit of work to make sure all of the machines are staying on 100%, but now that we actually have steady power and much more, we went from 450 to now 750 with the capacity of 1200. If I went over the 750, then the biomass generators would turn on, but for right now, this is just, beautiful. But we're not done yet. We've got more to do. Surprise, surprise, I'm out of concrete. But let me show you how this is going to work. The 3 cold gen blueprint, obviously being really similar. The only difference is the spacing. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm actually going to bring this in by 1 meter. And I'll show you in a second why. And then I just want to make sure that the splitter is flush with the edge of the foundations just to make the belt work a little bit easier. So now when I put it in blueprint mode, put these next to each other, I want them to take up their own 4x4 space. It is going to create this little bit of gap, but it keeps the splitter and the pipeline junctions kind of in the same spot in relation to the split of the foundations for each one. I've got plenty of space, so I just want to make it a little bit more even. With these ones, I've got 2 normal nodes. So even though I can overclock them to 300, I only have the Mark III belts, so we've got 270. So with each cold gen using 15, that means 18 for each one. So I'm gonna do 1 row of 18 going this way, and then on the back side of this, I'm just gonna place more foundations and then do a mirrored setup, where those ones are just gonna be facing out this direction, and all the power connections are gonna be right down here. Let's head on back to the storage. Back at storage. So first thing I'm going to do is turn on all these things that I've turned off. So we'll start getting some more points again. And any of the factories that some of them I turned off the miner just to make sure I saved on power. And the rest of them that are backed up, I'm going to go ahead and go through and I'm going to start sinking some of these extra stacks just so I can start getting some points and stop cheating with my blueprints. I really can't wait for some of the mods to start coming out. The only ones I really intend on using are ones to make the videos a little bit better. I'll be using Sky UI so that I can make it daytime pretty much the majority of the time. I think it's a lot easier to see what's going on in the videos. Sometimes, especially if you're not watching on a desktop or something, it can be a little bit hard to see what's going on at night in videos. So that one I'm definitely going to be using. The other one is the Fix-It Cam, which I've used to kind of get some cool shots. The one that I really want to play with is the time lapse, because I think building all of this would have been really cool to do on a time lapse. But it was really just slamming a bunch of blueprints together and hooking them up in the exact same way I did over here. It's just a slight difference in how the load balancing works because I didn't need the 5-way split, so let's go take a look at it. Each row has 18 coal generators, so load balancing was fairly simple. We've got the 3-way split here. Each coal generator needs 15, so that would be 45 needing to be plugged into here. And we've got that going into a 3-way split, so that would be 135 on here. And then that is just going into a 2-way split, so there's our 270. The major difference was that the water extractors don't get to be right next to each other, and they need a little bit more. I forgot to mention that all those water extractors on that side are underclocked to 90 meters cubed a minute. These ones over here are actually overclocked to 135. Since each machine needs 45, this needs 135. The 2 coal generator blueprint only needs 90 for each pair. The reason I like to do this instead of grouping up more together and then splitting it off is the fewer junctions I can use, the better luck I've had. The systems that I've had the most trouble with are when I had 20 plus machines all trying to get fed off of one pipe. Even if all the numbers matched up and were correct, I just never had the best luck at it. And so for me, I keep my systems much smaller. So if I can, I just do something like this. At times it means you need more water extractors, which can be a pain, especially with space. But sometimes you just have so many issues with fluids, some of these workarounds are just worth it. And this is one of them for me. I just keep the systems nice and small. Over here at the miners, it's got a real similar setup. I just added some more of the housing, added some ramps to make it easier to get up over the belts here. So this one will get belted into here, and then both of these will come over to here, plug into this one, and then with this one, those ones will come along here, and then go down the waterfall, and then plug into each of the different rows over there. So the last thing to do is actually to hook up power. So it's this connection right here. So we just need to connect this, and we can watch it come to life. I think I forgot to hook up all the power. Yep. Which isn't a bad thing. That just means these are all going to have a slight buffer. Yeah, so instead of these flickering between 1 and 0, now they have 6 or 7. So that's fine. And look at that. Oh, it feels good. 3450. We started the day with 450 that we had to keep refueling because it's biofuel. To adding 3,000 more and being able to just sit back and relax and not have to worry for a little bit. Oh, feels good. That is going to do it for this episode. In the next one, we'll go back to doing some more temporary factories, unfortunately. We're getting really close to being able to scrap all the temporary factories and start building a permanent one. But we're not quite there yet. I'll be doing encased industrial beams and motors and getting those space elevator parts ready, and hopefully I'll be able to finish phase 2. So look forward to that, and thanks for watching.